They are, they're great, they're really nice. I'm saying that because it's recorded.
What are your holy grail films?
I would say the films that influenced me the most growing up, and that would be anything from Jackie Chan, but I think the first Jackie Chan film I saw was Police Story, and it kind of just opened up a whole new world for me.
How would you describe your filmmaking style?
My filmmaking style is, I guess, it kind of reflects my nature. I'm quite erratic, I'm quite adrenalized, especially when I'm shooting. So I'm constantly thinking of, in the moment, what can be done, how it can be done, and because I'm from an editing background, I don't overshoot, but I know there are shots that I can put in there, so I kind of get more shots, and I guess a little bit similar to like Edgar Wright. So yeah, I kind of shoot to edit, and I come up with more edit ideas on the spot. Yeah, and Robert Rodriguez as well, he kind of always thinking about how does this get together, so he's already got a mental edit in his head. And you know, it comes with the performance as well, so if like the latter part of the performance kind of tails off, I'm fine because I know that I'm not going to use that, so I know what I'm using and I don't kind of overstretch the actors.
Who are the directors that inspire you?
Directors that inspire me, more recently, Panos Cosmatos. His work on Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy, his only 2 films, are just inspiring, amazing. Sam Raimi, again, I come from an editing background, so he's just, his work is just amazing. And Robert Rodriguez for the same reason. And Jackie Chan, because he's just a hard worker. I like the work ethic for a lot of directors who just get stuck in.
What is your favourite part about directing?
My favourite part of directing used to be just getting the shots I needed to do an awesome edit. And because I came from an editing background, I always felt like I was like, never called myself a director. I always thought I was the guy on set to make sure we got the shots that were needed. Whereas now I kind of feel more like a director because I love working with actors. I love the fact that they see so many more scripts than you do. They have a much better idea of, they really immerse themselves in the character and they bring so much more to a shoot. So I kind of lean on them a lot more now. And I just love working with talented people. So if you work with a really talented DP who just breathes a whole new life into your film that you never thought was possible, it's extremely exciting. And getting what was in here when you're writing a script to something that's on screen, and kind of leaning on all this talent that just give it breathe whole new life into it, is possibly the best thing about directing.
Who is someone you want to work with in the future?
Somebody I would love to work with in the future. I've actually got a feature in the works, and I wrote the main protagonist with a certain actor in mind, which I can't divulge, but he said yes, and I
Is it
can't.
Keanu Reeves?
It's not Keanu Reeves. No, it's not Keanu Reeves. Although there's a similarity, I guess. But he's an amazing actor, an amazing character actor. He's only done a little bit, but there's so much potential.
What advice would you give people who want to get into filmmaking?
The advice I would give anyone getting into filmmaking would be, it's going to be really tough and you should be prepared for that. A lot of people are going to say no. There's going to be a lot of obstacles. Filmmaking in itself is all about just putting out fires, coming up with solutions, and that's what you have to do. Nothing ever goes smoothly. So you've got to know that nothing in life really goes smoothly, but nothing in filming, definitely, there's always something going wrong. The other thing I found as well, coming from like doing short films and like, I was doing everything myself, which I got really used to. So I was like producer, I was location, I was like art director, I was editor. I was doing everything because I didn't know enough people to help me out, or I didn't know who to rely on. But over time, I've become really good friends with a lot of crew members who believe in what I'm doing and will always be there to be along for the ride.
Do you have any exciting projects coming up that you can tell us about?
on the slate, as they say. I have one extremely exciting project. It is a comedy horror thriller with very kind of British sensibilities, to be shot in Austria. It's called Freitag, and I'm in the midst of pre-production at the moment and trying to secure the right amount of funds to make the film. But it's I'm so excited by it because it's got nothing to do with fighting or martial arts or anything like that. But it does have. It doesn't even have any gore, really. It's an intense film, and it's my first feature-length script. So I'd never written a script that was like 105 pages before, but I've enjoyed the process immensely, and I can't wait to start shooting it. It's going to be an experience rather than a film. It's going to be quite immersive.
How did you get into editing?
I had a plan of how to get into filmmaking, and I felt that editing would be the best way to learn my craft, learn how to tell a story. And I really loved the process of editing. I loved the fact that you could manipulate a story in any way you could. You had that kind of power. Also, it was just a good training ground for me, and I think every director should have an editing experience. And I think it's so important. But I got into editing off the back of doing my master's degree in documentary, and ended up working in broadcast. And you would cut like daily entertainment features and news features, and every day I was editing, you know, and I just got it down to a fine art in the end. After about 4 years of intensive editing every day, I kind of fell out of love with it and fell in love with directing more.
What are some tips and tricks you can share us with regarding editing? This is mostly for me because I struggled in university with editing.
Do you know what? When I started editing, I guess at uni, college even, back in 97. That's how old I am.
Born that year.
I know, I'm old. I'm 30 and 37, 38 this year. I started editing on tape to tape and linear editing, so you can't make a mistake, because if you do 5 minutes worth of editing and go back down to you make a mistake near the beginning at a minute in, you can't just swap around and change whatever. You had to go back to that point, and that's where offline online originated from. A lot of people don't know what that means anymore. But my tips for editing are: you've just got to keep doing it as much as possible. That's what I did. I think anyone can edit. It's very easy to actually edit. You can edit on your iPhone now with apps and things. And you look online, and a lot of people take to editing quite easily. What separates somebody who can just edit and an editor is that editor has got like years and years and years and years of experience, and knows exactly what the editing style that you need and how to tell a story. So it's experience, and I would say just do it all day, every day, even if it's just messing around the house, and use decent editing software as well. I mean, editing is very cool, whereas actually all editing software is quite similar, but I would say just invest in Premiere. Just use Premiere. Don't use anything else. The other thing as well about editing, you've got to really sort of stay on top of how it all changes, and it's kind of, if you take a little bit of time away from it and then you go back to it, like the platforms change, file formats change, all that kind of stuff. I find that I'm getting a little bit out of touch, but I'm focusing more on directing now. So,
what inspired you to make Kowloon Killers?
What inspired me to shoot Kowloon Killers? I wanted to do. I was shooting a lot of stuff with a group of guys, stunt guys and choreographers, And we're putting stuff on YouTube, and it was every week we'd get together and they'd come up with some choreography and I'd shoot it. So it was just a really good sort of like creative partnership. And then I kind of want to do something a little bit better. I want to put a little bit more money into this. So Kowloon Killers took me like a couple of days to write. I didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be as simple as possible, a very simple story, but I wanted it to be more have more of a kind of a Hollywood feel to it, or more like a Hong Kong action cinema feel. So I thought, well, what haven't we done yet, style-wise? And I was like, let's do something a bit more John Woo, that kind of Hong Kong gangster triad type of feel. And I was watching a lot of the old John Woo and Ringo Lam films and stuff from like late 80s, early 90s. So we were going with sort of that vibe really, and I thought, yeah, that's something that I haven't seen much of, and yeah.
What was your writing process for Kowloon Killers like?
The writing process for Kowloon Killers was a couple of nights in with a bottle of wine, and I just bashed it out. It really wasn't much more than that. I really wanted it to be in a different language, so it's in both Cantonese and Vietnamese, and a little bit of English. So I got the actors to kind of put their slant on things, and then I said, look, this is where I'm going with, and they kind of reordered it, so it sounded. I think the way English is sort of structured is different to like different languages. So they changed it into Vietnamese and Cantonese. So it was a collaborative process in that way.
Do you do a kind of a structure? Because I feel like I have to do a structure to remember.
Do you know what? Because I find writing quite difficult because I am actually dyslexic. And just sitting down and with a blank piece of paper or like blank Word document or whatever, just writing something. I find it best to just write the characters and some dialogue between those characters and see where it goes. Because I think everything is character-led. So if you know what their backstory is, you know where they're going, you know and then it kind of just evolves from there. So I usually just write dialogue between like two characters, and then it kind of everything just emerges from there. I also listen to music as well when I'm writing. I listen to music that I know is the right vibe of what I'm trying to do, so or music that I know the characters would listen to as well. So if I know the characters and I know what would be their Spotify playlist, I make a Spotify playlist for that character. So I have that in the back of my mind. And actually, the act of writing, I think, isn't just sat at a laptop. That's not when you're not. That's not just when you're writing. You're actually writing all the time. So the best ideas are when you're sat on a train, staring out the window, and suddenly it will just come from nowhere, and you go, ah. And I found actually writing on my phone is just writing ideas on the phone, and then going back to it, and then writing a script off those ideas. So don't really force it. Just let it come to you, and just let it. Especially when you listen to the soundtrack of your film. Music to me just conjures up images, and then you go, oh, and then you sort of play the film in your head, and then you go, I've got to write this down. So you write out the idea, and then you write the script. You don't just sit down and go, okay, I need to come up with an idea. You just let the ideas come to you, and then put it down into a script.
What was the best part of filming Kowloon Killers?
Oh God, the best part of filming Kowloon Killers. When I went, that's a wrap. it was an intense 3 days. So half the film is when we shot in the apartment. That was actually a set that we came across. We didn't even make that. That already existed. We just happened across that, so it was perfect. I was really excited because we have a proper set here, and it looks great. You know? So I guess that was quite exciting, and it was a comparatively quite an easy shoot. And then the other half of the film is in the supermarket and the warehouse, which are together, and that was shot over 2 night shoots. So I think we shot on a Friday night, and also like Friday morning into Saturday, and then everyone went to the hotel, and I booked the hotel because I was kind of producing as well, and I didn't have enough. There wasn't enough beds, so I just gave up my bed, and I stayed up all of Saturday going through the rushes, and then so I didn't sleep, and then went back into another night shoot on the Saturday night to film everything else. And it was we got through so much in such a short space of time, and I think we were shooting right up to the end where the sun was just about coming over, and we just managed to get everything done.
I was wondering where it was shot.
The film was shot in Hastings,
Okay.
in a shed in Hastings, and then the supermarket shoot was in Southampton, in a China supermarket in Southampton. And then all the exterior shots were shot by a cinematographer who lived out in Hong Kong. So I got in contact with him on Instagram and said, could you get a lot of exterior shots and send them over?
What was the most challenging part of filming Kowloon Killers?
The most challenging part of shooting Kowloon Killers was just the fact that we had to shoot so much in such a short space of time and doing 2 all-nighters back to back without having any sleep in between. That was definitely the hardest part. And then in post-production as well, we had to put blood on the walls. We had to put we had to take out all the pricing on all the shelves as well, because it was pound signs.
Oh, okay.
So we had to get rid of all of that as well, because obviously it's not Hong Kong dollars. So like post, we had to like put like smashes in glass and all that kind of stuff. So, and also there's actually an end shot where you see the protagonist. He's sat on the floor with his sister, supposedly dead, but on the floor next to him. And we didn't have the other actors who played the Donald Trump gangsters. They weren't there on the shoot, so they were supposed to be on the ground and they weren't. So we had to shoot Tien actually dressed up like that with the mask on a green screen, and then put them in the shot, and no one can tell. It's like they were actually there. So there was a lot to do in post, and I think when we wrapped, I thought, right, okay, now it's started. Now there's so much to do to make this film work. So yeah, I had a guy doing special effects, all the post stuff, but he was really busy, and I had to sort of take it up. And I'd never done anything like that before in post, so I was doing a lot of YouTube tutorials and just learning how to do it myself, and did it. So it was enjoyable because I learnt a lot, but that was hard as well.
What was the biggest lesson you learned while filming Kowloon Killers?
Just staying calm, not letting time pressure get to you, because you get flustered, and then you can't think straight. So I think it's just you have to be calm. And if you're not, as a director, if you're not calm, then that kind of like passes on to everyone else, and it rubs off on the rest of the cast and crew. And then your nervousness, everyone else gets nervous, because it's like you've got to stay calm.
How do you want the audience to feel when watching Kowloon Killers?
I want anyone that watches Kowloon Killers, I just want them to be sort of on the edge of their seat. Through the story, there's this kind of intensity, like something's going to happen, and then when it does, I don't want it to be an anticlimax. So yeah, I want people to be a little bit on the edge of their seat.
How has your experience been with Fighting Spirit Film Festival?
Guys at Fighting Spirit, I would say, in a word, are tenacious. They have a real love for the genre, and they just do everything because they love it.
How has Fighting Spirit Film Festival helped your career?
They've given me a few opportunities. I got my film shown at Comic-Con, which was amazing. Cool. I was interviewed there, which was a great experience. So yeah, I think they've really done everything they can to put a spotlight on the film, and I'm eternally grateful for